Well, hello everybody. Danny back from Deepsouth Homestead on Porch Time. Guys, seems like I'm spending more time in the condo. Uh, really, it's so cold. And I say so cold, it's not that bad. I mean, it's like it's in the 40s, but this morning was in the teens, and the condo is nice and warm. It sits in the sun, hits the western sun, hits it. It's a dark color and it warms up really nice in here. It's the only place I really got out of the weather right now over at Pecan Grove to be able to uh, shoot a video. I mean, I could get in the barn, but the cows make so much noise. Beautiful sunny skies, partly cloudy, not all sunny, but partly cloudy. I'm looking at the food plot out here, and I'll show y'all. I mean, so you can kind of see what I'm looking at here. Let me see if I can get it around to where you all can get a look at what I'm looking at. That's what I'm looking at right there. I'm sitting up here kind of watching that, trying to make sure that, and mainly if something comes out that don't belong, or you never know if we got video of some pretty good rack deer, because I've been trying to hold off and not shoot anything. I'm trying not to take any bucks this year unless it's just a really big monster one, because I want to try to get more of them on the property. We're not seeing, I think we've seen on camera we have 4, and three of them are spikes, and one of them's a really nice rack deer. I saw one more. He liked to run over me on one side of the property. I was all the way over on one corner of the property. I think I scared him about as bad as he scared me, and he liked to run over me. So it's the only bucks we've seen. We mainly just go by what we get on camera because that's the ones that frequent it pretty good. But guys, it's we got some rain supposed to be moving in. We went from I guess you'd say way below average temperatures up into now we're gonna have warmer weather in the 50s and 40s and stuff with a lot of rain. And I told you it's gonna be a roller coaster year. So that's something we just got to get ready for. Things are going to be up and down, up and down. And I know it's an El Nino year. And these kind of things are kind of common with an El Nino year. But nevertheless, it's one of those things that we have to endure. The good Lord going to take care of us. That's the way Wanda and I look at it. We don't stress over the weather. We don't stress over world events or anything like that. Because, you go over in Matthew 24, the Lord said these things must happen. Wars, rumors of wars. We've always had wars. There's always been somebody's been fighting somewhere. People just can't get along. It's not nothing new. And now that we're in World War III, it's maybe a little different. It's quite possible that this one could come to American soil. And I try not to spaz about it, worry about it or anything like that, because like I said in Matthew 24, the Lord says, these things got to happen. But the end is not yet, so that means we've got to endure. And if I don't, for some reason, I know where my destination is. I mean, you know what I'm saying? If you're a born again believer, you know where you're going. So there's not really that big of a deal to, kind of freak out about it or anything. I'm going to a better place. I don't have to worry about all them wars and rumors of wars when I get there. I'm gonna come back with him though to fight that final battle. Or he's gonna fight it. I'm not gonna fight it. I'm gonna come back with him. And we all know in the end of Revelation how that turns out. We'll be on the winning side. So if you don't have nothing to drink, get you a cup of coffee, glass of tea, whatever it is, water. I drink water, and have a sit down. I don't really, I've been sitting here in the shoot house. We call it a shoot house. The condo is the name of it. I've been sitting here in it, kind of just pondering. I really come down here to video deer, I'll be honest with you. But I said, while I'm here, I might as well shoot porch time. This is on a Sunday. It's a Sunday afternoon, which is very calm, very beautiful weather. Probably by the time this video airs, it may be raining. And I possibly will just be stuck inside like always. I can go out to the shop or to the barn and do something. But I can't do as much as I used to do. My age, and since I've messed my neck up, no, I try to just take it easy. Try not to overdo it. And trying to just enjoy my time that I have left here on this earth. And we are actively over here at Pecan Grove, you know. I mean, we're trying to get some stuff ready for gardening. That's one thing that we're doing. We're working on a high tunnel. We're building a small fenced-in garden area. It's nothing huge. It's maybe, I don't know, maybe 60 feet wide and 60 feet long. You know, 3,600 square feet, I think that would be. And now it won't be all that we grow in, because we're trying to get up a high tunnel. And I'm trying to get that where we can grow in it. We have some containers, you know, that we're trying to grow in out by the pump house. So far the deer have not messed with anything. Wanda and I sat the other night, before we went back to Deepsouth to do the live stream, we sat over here and watched 8 deer. You know, just goofing around, playing out in the field right there, not about 50 yards from us. Wasn't even paying us no attention. Didn't care if we was even in there. And I told her, I said, you know, it's going to be difficult this year growing a garden. And we've taken 2 of them. There were 10 in that group. Now there's only 8. And we had a spike buck come in and he left out, so that would really be 9. But, you know, it's going to be difficult. And we've moved all of our gardening stuff over here to Pecan Grove this year, because at Deepsouth, we're letting it rest. We feel like that's the right thing to do. The soil just needs to rest, and time to replenish itself. And we have nice level land over here. Now all of it's not level. We got some really steep hills over here. I didn't realize that when I bought it, but you know, once we started clearing and the track code went down places clearing, we found out we got some pretty steep hills in here. And we just leave all that in woods, you know, and people have commented thinking that when we put up the video the other day at Pecan Grove with the track code clearing out a bunch of woods and stuff, that we were actually, you know, clearing out too much. Well, the part you saw being cleared out was actually right behind the barn, and it was nothing but tongue nut trees, wild privy, yopons, and all that kind of stuff in there, and all them old poisonous tongue nuts and everything. I had that track code. And you notice in the video there were ribbons tied around trees. I went through there and tied ribbons around the trees I wanted left, which was predominantly pecan trees, and there's a few oak trees in there with it. And the guy did a really good job. Now he did take out some trees that I didn't want took out, but it is what it is. I can't stick them back in the ground. But it turned out to be really nice looking. We got plenty of red clover and ryegrass and bahia grass and all that seeded down in there good now. And now it's all in a big cow pen. The cows are all out in there. We got rolls of hay and cattle corral everywhere. I mean, you wouldn't even recognize it now. And by the time, you know, the video comes out, when you can actually see what it looks like, you'll say, wow, what a transformation. Because there's fences up everywhere and stuff. And we have plenty of land for deer to bed down on, and, you know, lots of water sources. If it ever rains, you know, hopefully this week we'll put some rain back in some of these branches because they're all dry. the pond over here it's not as bad over at Pecan Grove as it is at Deep South. You know, Deep South we're still about 7-8 feet low. Over here we're only about 3.5, maybe 4 foot at the most. Catfish over here are doing fantastic. I mean, they have grown like wildfire. And, you know, we put some carp in the pond with it when we've done it, sterile carp, because we had a few lily pads in there, and I don't like lily pads. You know, they'll take a pond over. And those carp and catfish went along there and have rooted those things up out of the bottom of that pond, and they have just about eradicated everything in that pond, which tickles me to death, you know. So, you know, with that being said, Wanda and I are just trying to, you know, our health has been a little down here lately. Mine's picked back up considerably. Hers still not so much. I can't prove it because we don't go to the doctor for nothing if we can help it. But I kind of suspect she had the CVD, if you know what I mean. Because she had a little loss of taste there for a while. Not completely lost, but things just didn't taste right. But then, you know, a lot of sicknesses does that to you. And she still hasn't bounced back. And that's one of the characteristics of that illness, is that you stay really weak for a long period of time. And she keeps a croup in her chest and stuff like that, and dizziness, and a lot of things that just makes us believe it was a weaponized, you know, illness. Because we've both been, I mean, we're both 60-something years old. We've had the flu. We've had, you know, I've had the Hong Kong flu, the regular. I've had, I don't know how many different kinds of flus in my life. And so she has, likewise. We have measles and mumps and whatever, you know. Chicken pox and all kinds of stuff. And just the childhood, you know, normal childhood diseases growing up. Nothing life-threatening, just illnesses. And we know what it is to have a normal illness, but now these things that we're getting now don't seem to be that way. But we're trusting the Lord, you know, and if it don't clear up here pretty soon, we'll have to go to a doctor and see if we can't figure out what we need to do to enhance that. And there's no need sending a bunch of stuff telling us to do this, do that, do this. We've done just about everything we can imagine to do, down to taking B12s and B6s and vitamin D, D3s, I mean, you name it, all the stuff, and the apple cider vinegars and whatever. But the Lord's going to see us through it. We know He is. We know He is. Not going to stress over it. We'll do what we got to do when we got to do it. You know, so a day like today, I just come down here and I told her, says, I'm going down to the condo. I'm going to sit down there and I'm just going to watch and see if something walks out, you know. I said, if a herd of deer comes out, I'll just video it, you know, give us something to maybe show on a video. I said, but, you know, if one of them happens to be that old big deer, you know, well, I just might have to pull the trigger, you know what I mean? I mean, we're trying not to take any small bucks, like I said. We're trying to keep everything to manage. We're trying to manage it, because it hasn't been done anything with in like 25, 30 years, and there's just does galore. There's just way too many, you know. And I know this year we've already seen, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've seen 10 babies already this year. And more mamas than that. So, and we've got a couple of them that are mean mamas. We call them mean mamas because when they come out to eat, they rear up on their hind legs and take their hooves and start hitting the others in the head, and they run all of the fields, and then they run back over to the feed. And they don't want nothing around the feed but them, you know. So, and they're huge, big old does. So, we may have to take one of them out to kind of give all the other ones a chance, you know, to get in the pecking order, I guess you might say. But we're, just sitting here trying to figure out, pondering what's a good subject to talk about. I get so tired of talking to people about world events. I mean, we're already in the World War. That's already started. That started like half a year ago. It started off when with all the hacking and the espionage, and we've been fighting under the ocean out there now for quite a while. You just won't hear nobody talking about that. And then I don't want to sit and harp on that. And I was like, there's huge solar events taking place. I don't want to just sit and harp on solar cycle 25 and what's going on with the sun. 2024 and 2025 going to be some bad times with the sun. It's going to really be bad. And so I don't want to just sit and harp on that kind of stuff, because there's plenty of channels out there that do that already. And I get a lot of people that say, man, can you just quit doing the doom and gloom? And I'm like, have I said anything that's doom and gloom? I mean, the bottom line is, the truth is the truth. I'm not one of these kind of people, like it says in the scriptures, that people are searching for teachers that tickle their ears. I'm not here to tickle nobody's ears. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if I can't just be straight up with you and tell you like it is, then I just move on. Or you have to move on, or whatever. I mean, it's one of them situations where I don't believe in tickling ears. I mean, my daddy always told me, said, son, be cautious of people that don't tell the truth, and they have a tendency to beat around the bush about things, and they don't want to just say what you got to say, And he said, now when you read the Bible, sometimes it means what it says, and it says what it means. Don't try to put something in there that ain't there, and don't try to make it say something that it don't say. And I've always tried to heed to those things. My daddy wasn't a very educated man. He only worked to the 4th or 5th grade. And I went to school to the 4th, 5th grade, and he had to go to work because my grandpa broke his leg. And it was during the Depression time, and right after that, and the end of the world, during the World Wars and all that. I mean, it's no food, no money. He just had to go out and start working with grown men, pulling a crosscut saw in the woods logging. But that was pretty much what men did back then. Mostly was, they were sharecroppers in the summertime and loggers in the wintertime. And lived in old shotgun houses, cold. And Wanda and I were talking the other day. It's the real men are just gone. You know what I'm saying? They're just gone. My daddy was like a ladder knot. I mean, he was like hard as steel. That man, 62 and 63 years old, still toting a chainsaw, sawing 6 loads of logs a day, cutting the limbs off of them and everything. I mean, like it wasn't nothing. And here I am at 63, can't even hardly do nothing no more. I mean, messed my neck up, messed my back up, and got heart issues and all kinds of stuff. And my daddy was just, he was like a mule, just didn't even know what it was to be tired. I seen that man. I used to always tell my mom, I said, man, if I'm half the man my daddy is, I'll be happy. And I don't even know if I've made it to half yet. And he, just big old gentle giant, and never knowed him to get very angry with anybody, but I've seen it a couple of times, but other than that, never knew him to really get mad or lose his temper or anything like that. He just was just straightforward. People respected him, both black, white, all the communities around loved my father because he was a man of his word. And he didn't have a lot of words, but when he spoke words, people listened. And he worked right along beside, man. It didn't matter what color you was. He went to church with different people. It didn't matter what color you was. He played when he was a kid. He grew up in them old camps and stuff with all different races of people. My daddy didn't see races or anything like that, and he bred that into me. You know, son, you don't see races, you just see people. God loves us all, you know, and he said, when you die and go to heaven, God's not going to separate you by races. You know, he said, you're all his children. You're all going to be grafted in to the house of Israel. He said, you'll all be the same. And I've always lived by that. You know, I mean, I've got friends on all spectrums of nationalities and everything, and they come visit me quite often, different ones of them. And they know I don't hold any prejudice or anything like that. I'm just a straightforward guy that loves the Lord, and you know, and they know that, and they don't have a problem with any of that. And I don't know. America has dropped the ball. You know what I'm saying? We've dropped the ball. And you know, we'll start to think about something. When the scripture says that that judgment must begin at the house of God, you ever wondered why? God holds his people responsible. You know why America is free? America is free because of born-again believers. That's the only reason. And when God's people cease to do what they're supposed to do, he says, the judgment's going to come, but it's going to come to my people's house first. He said it must begin at the house of God because we dropped the ball. We quit praying. We quit taking care of our fellow brother. We started letting Big Brother take care of everything instead of us. You know what I mean? The Bible gives strict rules, strict everything about how to take care of widows and widows indeed. And let's get this correct. Widows indeed. Not every widow, but widows indeed. Those that have nobody. We quit letting the church take care of them situations and our fellow brothers in Christ, and we started letting Big Brother, Big Gov, take care of it. And then when we done that, you know, we screwed up. And we started sacrificing our children for the sin of pleasure and stuff like that. And God, like he told Israel, said, your children's blood cry out to me. And Israel was punished because of it. We will be punished because of it. So, gosh, it's in the 40s out there, but this thing's getting warm up in here, guys. But nevertheless, you know, we just gotta love one another. We're going to go into some perilous times, okay? In the next, I'm going to go ahead and say it, the next 2 years, we're going to go into some pretty perilous times. You won't recognize this country in 2 years. And the only way we're going to make it. Now, let me say this before I say that. You know why other countries, now this is something that other countries have over on us. Now listen to me. Get up here. Come on up here by the camera. Listen to me. They know who their neighbors are. That's why other countries survived. That's why they're surviving now and them bombing and blowing up everything over there, because they know their neighbors. Do you know your neighbor? Fortunately, I know all my neighbors where I live at in both places that I go to. I've made it a point to know who is around me. And I've pretty much got to know most of them, good or bad. Because I know that if something happens, no matter which place I'm at, I know who I can trust. I know who I cannot trust. I know who's going to give me a problem. I know who's not going to give me a problem. And I know who I need to help and who I don't need to help. You know, so that's where other countries have it on us, because they know their neighbors. Most people have no clue about the person who lives in the house next to them. They don't know, and really they don't care. Or they say they don't care. Wait till things go bad, and trust me, you will care who lives next to you. So I urge you, get to know them now. And I'm being dead serious. Get to know them now before that time comes. And if they don't want to have anything to do with you, that tells you everything you need to know right there. That tells you if you need to back away from them or try to befriend them, or what you need to do, whether you can trust them, whether you don't need to trust them. It's a whole lot easier to learn it now than it is then. Because trust me, everything you see across the water is coming to your back door. It's already been planned. They already know that it's going to happen. They've already made provisions, and they, being Big Brother, has already made provisions to take care of themselves. Why do you think there's been so many recalls on food? Because you ever go back and say, hey, what happened to that food? What did they do with it? Did they destroy it? Did they throw it away? What happened to it? Nobody ever goes back and checks on it, see where it went. What better way to restock the elite's pantry than to say, hey, there's something wrong with all the food. We got to recall it. People live in a scared bubble. And they're like, oh, we better not eat that. We might die. Am I right? I mean, answer me. Am I right? Scared you get sick. Oh, you'll get listeria. You get salmonella. They get all these words out there now. You're going to get all these stuff. I don't know, guys. Let's just live. Let's just enjoy ourselves. Let's put our faith in the Lord and get to know our fellow brother, our fellow neighbor. Let's just say this. Let's get to know our neighbors now before it's too late. Because if you do that and you find out you got a good neighbor, then you got a friend and you got somebody you can count on. It's a lot better to find that out now than later. Well, guys, the sun is just fixing to come in this window right here. It's already, even though it's in the 40s outside, this shoot house must be in about the 75 or 80 degree mark right now. Because the wind is laid down. And it's about, well, you can see my watch there. I don't know if you get where you can see it or not. It's 3 o'clock in the evening. Sitting here watching the birds on the ground. Yeah, it's 3 o'clock in the evening, and fixing to be prime time for something to walk out. So I want to leave you with this. Trust in the Lord. Lean not unto your own understanding. Man's heart is wicked above all things. Live by faith. Can't go wrong doing that. Don't condemn your fellow brother. Don't judge them. Just love them. Thank you, guys, from Deepsouth Homestead.